For decades, their tales of alien abduction were laughed off as fiction. Now, with more witnesses coming forward, along with undeniable evidence, the truth is staring us down.
There were lots of little lights moving around, and I thought at first that they were just stars, and then realizing that stars don't do that.
What did they see on those stolen nights?
And then my next conscious memory was that of falling into my bed. I could have fallen anywhere from 2 inches or 2 feet up or whatever, but I was conscious and I felt myself fall into bed.
What chilling secrets do these experiences hold?
Do you ever get any feelings or flashbacks when you come out here?
No, it's changed. It's hard to feel anything when you come out here.
We're headed out, and I looked up ahead and I saw this kind of glow coming through the trees. First I thought, no big deal, you know, it was deer hunting season, maybe light shining through a tent. It was still something really strange.
On November 5th, 1975, Travis Walton's logging crew reported witnessing a strange light and disc-shaped object, followed by Walton's sudden disappearance. Their story, backed by polygraph tests, sparked a major search, making this strange incident in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest a highly debated event. 5 days later, Walton reappeared near Heber, Arizona, disoriented and with no memory of his absence. He later recounted a series of experiences aboard an alien spacecraft, including examinations by extraterrestrial beings who could supposedly disguise themselves as humans. Walton claimed to have escaped his captors, though details of the timeline remained inconsistent. Despite inconsistencies, Walton consistently maintained his abduction story, even passing multiple polygraph tests. All of this, along with witnesses, makes this a credible case of UFO abduction.
They described this glow rising up and streaking off, I believe they said, toward the northeast.
Val Johnson.
I traveled about a mile, and the light seemed to intercept me. Came right upon me. It was painful. The light was extremely brilliant and painful. I closed my eyes and I heard the sound of breaking glass, and that's the last I remember.
In the early hours of the morning, Deputy Sheriff Val Johnson was on a routine patrol when a blinding light suddenly appeared and rapidly approached his patrol car, causing a collision-like incident. The aftermath revealed significant damage to his vehicle. The windshield shattered, antennas bent, and both his wristwatch and the car clock inexplicably lost 14 minutes. Johnson himself experienced temporary blindness and sought medical attention following the incident. Despite investigations by various organizations, there's no proof of the encounter, except his wrecked car. Many believe aliens planned the crash and used it to abduct him into another dimension, which explains why he was out for only 14 minutes on Earth. He's sure the aliens will return, but this time, he'll be prepared.
I have no idea. It's truly unexplainable to me, or unknown to me.
Piero Zanfar. In 1978, Piero Zanfar's life took an extraordinary turn while working as a night guard. During his shift, a brilliantly illuminated UFO descended before him, and from it emerged a group of menacing reptilian creatures. These beings possessed mottled green skin, large yellow eyes, and pointed ears. They communicated with Zanfar, revealing that they originated from a distant planet named Tetonia. After this encounter, Zanfar experienced a period of memory loss that lasted several hours. Upon regaining his senses, he found himself under thorough investigation by the Italian military police. They discovered him in a state of shock, and his car exhibited an unusual phenomenon. It was heating up despite being turned off. Additionally, large footprints, unlike any previously encountered, were found in the vicinity. The man underwent multiple hypnosis sessions where his recounts were remarkably detailed and consistent over time. The compelling nature of his testimony drew significant media attention, making this one of the most convincing cases of alien abduction. Frederick Valenti.
As it's flying past, it's a long shape cannot identify more than that it has such speed.
Frederick Valenti, a 20-year-old Australian pilot, mysteriously disappeared on October 21, 1978, during a training flight over the Bass Strait. His final communication with Melbourne Flight Service included a report of an unidentified aircraft with bright lights and metallic surfaces following him, and descriptions of the aircraft making unusual maneuvers. Valenti's last transmission ended abruptly with a metallic scraping sound, and he was never heard from again. Despite extensive investigations and searches, no trace of Valenti or his aircraft was ever found. Many believe he was abducted by aliens, as the area had a history of similar sightings. Ufologists have conducted multiple searches in the area, finding some evidence supporting the theory of abduction, but the fate of Frederick Valenti remains a mystery to this day.
He didn't finish that communication. There was all of a sudden a clicking sound, pulsing sort of electronic. After the clicking sound, I called him numerous times and got no response.
Jesse Long.
In that they actually force me to crossbreed with what seems to be a female being.
Jesse Long shocked the world when he revealed he had been taken by aliens when he was just 5 years old in 1957. According to Long, this wasn't a one-time occurrence. He was routinely visited by aliens for several years until they vanished. Then, in 1990, the aliens paid him a visit again, this time accompanied by alien-human hybrids, who claimed to be Long's children through an alien breeding experiment. That was the last contact he ever had, prompting him to finally share his story. Naturally, many people were skeptical, but a medical procedure pulled out an alien implant from his shin in 1991. The implant was analyzed, but was made from materials unknown to man. Do you believe him? Whitley Steber.
When he goes out there, he sees this craft just above the tree line, and it's huge. It's filling the sky, and the thought occurs to him, oh my God, they've taken my son.
In 1985, a Christmas cabin getaway turned strange for author Whitley Steber. He woke up to a nightmarish experience. Strange beings whisked him away in a spaceship, performing medical procedures just like other alleged UFO abductees. But Steber's story was different. Unlike most, he remembered everything. He wrote a book called Communion in 1987, detailing the abduction vividly, even suggesting the beings implanted a chip to control him. The story gets crazier. Steber claimed further encounters with gray aliens and even human alien hybrids in his later books, The Greys and Confirmation. While super intriguing, Steber's experiences haven't been proven. Some experts believe his memories could be due to sleep problems or even his background as a horror writer. Still, his story adds to the UFO mystery, leaving us wondering what secrets the universe holds.
He said, "Is it a dream, Dad?" I can't imagine what he must have felt like inside.
Sue Jameson.
Waking up and finding them standing next to your bed and being terrified. I remember feeling that the world was just not a safe place.
Sue Jameson remembers a night that changed her family forever. It started with a blinding light that filled her room, freezing her in place. She couldn't even cry out. In the next room, her children felt the same strange paralysis, but they also saw small gray figures with giant heads and eyes. Then, in an unbelievable turn of events, the whole family was lifted into a spaceship. There, Sue watched helplessly as strange beings examined her children. When they woke up the next day, everything was back to normal, but with a terrifying twist, none of them could remember what happened. The only clue they had was a recurring dream, a shared memory of the abduction that kept coming back. Now, years later, those dreams are back, bringing with them a chilling fear. What if the aliens return?
That there was nowhere that was safe, that no matter where I went or what I did, that they could find me.
Terry Lovelace.
Black mat, non-reflective, no insignia, no rivets, no windows, no nothing. And it was enormous.
In June 1977, Terry Lovelace, a U.S. Air Force medic, went on a camping trip with his friend Toby at Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas. At night, they witnessed a colossal triangular craft hovering above them, radiating an intense glow which bathed the surroundings in an eerie light. Following this encounter, Lovelace and Toby experienced a period of unconsciousness. Upon regaining their senses, they found themselves in a state of physical distress and mental anguish, with no recollection of what happened. They were dehydrated and had mysterious marks on their bodies. Despite such a shocking experience, fear for their military careers compelled them to remain silent about the incident. However, decades later, a routine X-ray revealed an unusual implant lodged in Lovelace's leg. This discovery prompted him to break his silence and share his extraordinary story with the world. In his book titled Incident at Devil's Den, Lovelace said that the government is aware of the existence of extraterrestrial life, which was no less than a banger.
When we got back to the base, and it was a long, silent trip home, the only real conversation we made was a pact between us that we would never tell anyone that we had this experience.
Aaron Schultz.
When I was a kid, I was taken aboard a craft, flown and operated by non-human intelligence beings who were not of this world.
A weird tale emerged from a sleepy town near St. Louis. Schultz, a local resident, claims childhood encounters with bizarre beings at the age of 8, 10 years. Large-headed with bulging dark eyes, they wore skin-tight silver suits. Even weirder, they whisked him aboard their spaceship, a craft with glowing white walls. There they conducted mysterious medical exams, always returning him before sunrise. Finally, Schultz gathered his courage and asked, "Who are you?" The answer chilled him. Humans from the future. For decades, Schultz kept this secret, fearing disbelief. Now he speaks out with another twist. He believes others share his experience. Were these truly future humans, time travelers with unknown motives? Or is there another explanation? A childhood memory misinterpreted?
In between and after these experiences, I was very fearful because it made me feel very small. Living with this knowledge as a kid was scary.
Carl Higden. On October 25, 1974, Carl Higden went hunting in Medicine Bow National Forest. While trying to shoot an elk, he saw the bullet slow down midair. A humanoid figure named Auso, dressed in a tight black jumpsuit, appeared and offered Higden pills that would eliminate the need for food for days. Higden accepted the pills. Auso then took him aboard a transparent vehicle to another dimension. There, Higden saw other humanoid figures and strange landscapes before suddenly being returned to Earth. He was shaken, with only the reversed bullet as physical evidence of his encounter. Strangely, after his return, Higden's pre-existing health conditions healed and he never got sick again. Tammy Stone. In 1973, near Waco, Texas, Tammy Stone was driving home after a late-night shift when she suddenly felt strange and lost 3 hours of time. Although she was spooked, she didn't think much of it until she began having disturbing dreams that pieced together her memories. In these dreams, thin-faced figures pulled her from her car and took her to an alien craft. They laid her on a table and inserted a small object into her nose using tools that looked like a giant eye, terrifying her. When she returned home, she forgot everything. Later, she could feel something in her nostril but couldn't see it. No doctor took her seriously enough to perform an X-ray, making her case one of the strangest mysteries to date. Maria Ward.
I got out of the bed and I walked over to those windows and looked out, and in the distance there were lots of little lights moving around, and I thought at first that they were just stars, and then realizing that stars don't do that.
Maria Ward's extraordinary encounter began in the depths of her sleep when a blinding flash abruptly awakened her. At precisely 3:17 a.m., she heard a disembodied voice giving the cryptic message, "Follow the light." Compelled by an irresistible force, she found herself levitating into a peculiar aircraft. Upon opening her eyes, Maria found herself face to face with an unsettling sight: diminutive extraterrestrial beings, each standing approximately 5 feet tall and clad in milky white garments. They conducted a series of medical examinations, and throughout this surreal experience, Maria's senses were assaulted by an overpowering odor of rotting leaves. After what seemed like an eternity, she finally regained consciousness in her own bedroom, her body now adorned with strange and inexplicable marks. Filled with fear, she sought medical attention, hoping to uncover the origin of these mysterious markings. However, medical professionals were unable to provide any concrete explanations, leaving her even more perplexed and unsettled. After years of silence, Maria finally found the courage to share her extraordinary encounter.
And then the light dimmed down and I could see sort of shadows moving around in this light. And then there, standing in front of me, what I would describe as 3 non-human beings.
Avis Family. On the evening of October 27, 1974, the Avis family was driving through Aveley, Essex, when suddenly a dense green mist engulfed their car, causing temporary malfunctions in their vehicle's electronics and lights. As they drove through the mist, they felt an unusual coldness and a sensation of being moved forward. It wasn't until they reached home that they realized 3 hours had passed without them noticing. Strangely, after this experience, the Avis family changed. They stopped eating meat and drinking alcohol, became more environmentally conscious, and started experiencing paranormal occurrences. They later claimed that tall, peaceful aliens with pink eyes had taken them aboard a ship and blessed their health, but nobody believed them. Betty and Barney Hill.
When my mother hung up the phone, she told me that Betty and Barney had seen a flying saucer up close.
On a September night in 1961, Betty and Barney Hill found themselves at the heart of one of the most talked about alien abduction stories. Driving through the New Hampshire mountains, they encountered a UFO.
They're thinking this has a particular interest in us. There's no other cars on the highway, and this light is getting brighter and it's getting closer.
Which led to their being taken aboard and subjected to medical tests by extraterrestrial beings. After the incident, the Hills noticed strange things. Their watches stopped working, and their car trunk had mysterious shiny circles that reacted oddly to a compass. Deeply shaken, they turned to Dr. Benjamin Simon, a respected psychiatrist who used hypnosis to help them remember what happened. Under hypnosis, Betty and Barney revealed detailed memories of their encounter with the aliens. Betty even recalled seeing a star map, which she later drew. This map, thought to show the aliens' home system near Zeta Reticuli, added another layer of credibility to their story. Linda Cortil Napolitano.
And that's when I did open my eyes and I looked straight ahead. And there was this thing, this creature, standing at the foot of my bed.
Linda's life took a dramatic turn when she was lifted from a 12th-floor apartment by a hovering UFO. This strange event was reportedly seen by several people, including 2 bodyguards assigned to protect the United Nations Secretary General at the time. Inside the UFO, Linda encountered gray alien beings who took her to a room filled with advanced technology. She underwent a thorough examination, a memory she later recalled under hypnosis. When she returned, she was physically unharmed but changed. Her cheerful personality was gone, replaced by a somber mood. November 30th, 1989, the date of her encounter, became a day she couldn't forget. However, despite the bodyguard's confirmation, Linda's story has been met with skepticism. Some believe her abduction was a cover-up for a secret controversy involving the United Nations.
And then my next conscious memory was that of falling into my bed. I could have fallen anywhere from 2 inches or 2 feet up or whatever, but I was conscious and I felt myself fall into bed.
Herbert Shermer.
A local cop said he saw and went inside a UFO. The man behind that sighting has since died, but new attention is brewing over his tale.
Herbert Shermer, a 22-year-old police officer, was on patrol when he noticed red truck lights turning out to be a metallic, disc-shaped object. That thing emitted a high-pitched sound and a blue flame, after which it took Shermer aboard and later returned him. Following the encounter, Shermer reported physical symptoms including a headache and a red welt on his neck. In 1968, Shermer underwent hypnosis conducted by Dr. Sprinkle, during which he described the beings as short humanoid figures with cat-like eyes and uniforms bearing a winged serpent emblem. According to Shermer's account under hypnosis, these beings used electrical power and had bases on both Venus and Earth. The Condon Committee, which investigated UFO sightings at the time, expressed their doubts, but Shermer has maintained his story despite the controversy.
The extraterrestrials were absolutely identical, and these were reported in police reports, not just a person coming forward and say, "It happened to me." These were investigated by the local law enforcement.
Mann family. In 1978, the Mann family, comprising John Mann, his wife Gloria, his sister Frances, and their 2 children, encountered an inexplicable brilliant white light. They followed it, which led to a dramatic change in their surroundings and caused them to lose nearly 2 hours of time. They reported a strange sensation of control over their vehicle, as if it could drive itself. Later, they discovered unexplained physical signs such as rashes and bruises on their bodies. Under hypnosis, they recalled more details about the encounter. All of this, the full extent of their experience remains uncertain. Maine Woods abductions.
Other guy was sitting at the back of the canoe said, "What the heck is that?" And we all turned and looked in that direction. And I saw this light at the tops of the trees.
4 friends on a camping trip in Maine had an experience that still baffles them today. In 1976, Charles Foltz, Chuck Rack, and twins Jim and Jack Weiner saw something strange in the night sky, a flying object unlike anything they'd ever seen.
I mean, this thing was big, man. It was as big as a 2-story house. It had to be at least 70, 80 feet in diameter.
According to their story, this wasn't just a sighting. They claimed they were taken aboard the craft by unknown beings and subjected to some kind of examination. The strangest part, they lost a big chunk of time. Their campfire, which should have burned for hours, was just ashes. It was like hours had vanished without a trace. Years later, troubled by nightmares and a feeling that something wasn't right, they underwent hypnosis. Here's the catch: their memories under hypnosis all lined up. Despite repeated tests with psychologists and lie detectors, some folks still aren't sure what to believe. Were they abducted by aliens? Or is there another explanation? The mystery of the Allagash Waterway continues. Betty and the Starry Visitors. In January 1967, Betty's life in South Ashburnham, Massachusetts, took a dramatic turn. According to her, she was visited by beings from another world. They took her aboard their spacecraft, where she underwent a series of strange tests. Unlike many UFO stories, Betty described these beings as kind, angelic figures. They spoke of peace and unity, not invasion. Hypnosis later revealed details of their interactions. No harm, but definitely some tests. At first, only UFO researcher Raymond Fowler took Betty's story seriously. He documented her experience in detail, writing several books about it. The government, however, remained silent. But here's the twist. Rumors spread that Betty's family was watched by the government for years. Did they know something, or were they simply keeping an eye on the situation? Whispers even suggested a possible connection between the government and these otherworldly visitors. Little Green Terror in Kentucky. It was a hot August night in 1955, and the Sutton family in Kelly, Kentucky, was settling in for a quiet evening. Suddenly, Billy Ray Taylor, a friend staying with the family, saw a strange light moving across the dark sky. Curious, he went outside to get a better look. Soon, both Billy Ray and Lucky Sutton, another member of the household, came face to face with tiny green creatures with long, menacing claws, floating towards their home. Panic gripped the family. The night turned into a scene of terror. The Suttons tried everything to defend themselves, but these strange creatures seemed to deflect every attempt to fight them back. As the long night wore on, the terrified family piled into their car and raced to the local police station, desperate for help. The police, though skeptical, were struck by the genuine fear on the faces of the Suttons. They investigated the farmhouse but found no trace of the Green Menace.
Every time I interviewed the grandmother, who was a witness. As the interview deepened, there would be a look of stark, horrendous fear come across her eyes that he said he could not explain.
Kelly Cahill.
It's about a kilometre or so in front of us, about twice the height of the treetops. We could see this object, which at first I thought was a blimp. It had the shape of a blimp, but it was light.
In the evening of August 8th, 1993, Kelly Cahill and her family had a strange experience while driving through the Dandong Foothills near Belgrave, Victoria, Australia. A big round object appeared in front of them, blocking their way. It had different colored lights coming from its bottom. The Cahills were scared, but they kept driving. Suddenly, a bright white light flashed in front of them. When they could see again, they realized that they had lost an hour. They didn't know what happened, but Kelly had a strange triangular mark on her stomach. Later, the Cahills remembered meeting tall, thin creatures with big red eyes. They were about 7 feet tall. The Cahills still don't know what happened to them that night and if they will ever be okay.
And I think a lot of people, might have experienced the fear in a nightmare where you're being chased or something like that, and it's a terror that you feel that, sometimes can wake you up or whatever, but it's absolutely horrifying when you're dreaming it. And that's exactly what I was feeling while I was totally awake.
Stan Romanic.
I said, you do not lie, or you do not to me. Experiences are real. I have a lot of proof for it.
Stan Romanic claims to have been abducted by aliens multiple times. These encounters started in 2000 and continued until recently. He says the aliens heard him and put a strange device inside him. One time, Romanic woke up wearing the dress of Betty Hill, another person who said she was abducted by aliens. He doesn't know if he met the same aliens as Hill, or if they were abducted together and don't remember. Romanic made a documentary about his experiences. He shared footage and photos that he says prove his story. This has excited ufologists around the world.
It's easier for her to deal with this than it is for me to deal with.
Chris Bledsoe. Paul Bledsoe's life took an extraordinary turn during a fishing trip with his son and colleagues. He had an encounter with mysterious flying objects and extraterrestrial beings. Bledsoe describes these beings as having glowing red eyes and being relatively small, about 3.5 feet tall. He also experiences episodes of missing time, where he loses track of time and has no recollection of certain periods. The only tangible evidence of his experiences lies in his improved health. Bledsoe was chronically ill before his first encounter, but he miraculously recovered afterward, leaving doctors baffled. He believes that the alien beings he encountered blessed him with immunity. Bledsoe's case has attracted the attention of NASA, the CIA, and the FBI, all of whom are eager to uncover the truth behind his claims and gain a deeper understanding of these extraordinary phenomena.
Within a week after I came home, we started having shadow figures in the house, orbs over top of the house, and it just never quit.
Amy Ryland.
I don't remember being taken, just like I don't remember being dropped off. I was asleep when it happened.
In the town of Gundaya, Australia, Amy Rylands' life took an extraordinary turn while staying at her friend Petra Heller's house. A brilliant beam of light pierced through the window, levitating Amy into a massive craft right before Petra's astonished eyes. Approximately 90 minutes later, Amy mysteriously reappeared in Mackay, Queensland, hundreds of miles away from where she vanished. Found in a disoriented state, her body bore peculiar marks. Even more unsettling, she had physically grown, hinting that while she experienced only 90 minutes of absence, it might have spanned several years for her. Back in Gundaya, the only evidence of this baffling event was the presence of burnt bushes outside Petra's house. Since then, Amy has chosen a life of seclusion, understandably shaken by the profound nature of her encounter.
We were all on hallucinogenic drugs and drinking. That still wouldn't put Amy 800 kilometers away.
Clayton and Donna Lee. Clayton and Donna Lee, a couple from Houston, Texas, have recounted numerous UFO abduction accounts involving being taken aboard a spacecraft, undergoing medical examinations, and experiencing experimentation. Clayton's initial encounter with these extraterrestrial beings dates back to his childhood when he was mysteriously lifted into the air by an invisible force in a park. Years later, both Clayton and Donna would face repeated abductions, leading Clayton to believe that the alien force specifically targeted Donna because of him. He harbors a profound sense that he may not have been meant to be on Earth. Despite undergoing various tests, no conclusive evidence has emerged to prove or disprove the Lees' claims. Debbie Jordan Corbell. Debbie's story gained attention after Bud Hopkins published it in his book, where she was referred to as Kathy Davis. According to her account, Debbie has had ongoing interactions with extraterrestrial beings throughout her life. Her first encounter occurred near her childhood home when she witnessed a UFO. Years later, after she had settled down and had children, the UFO returned and forcibly took her during her sleep. Aboard the UFO, she underwent multiple medical examinations. Despite the lack of substantial evidence to support her claims, Debbie's story stands out due to the presence of a large ring in her backyard. This ring was allegedly burnt into the grass by the UFO's landing, and nothing would grow there for years. Debbie has authored books detailing her experiences, but like many other UFO abductees, her accounts have been met with skepticism and limited acceptance. Alfred Buu. Picture this. Alfred Buu, a 77-year-old man, was simply fishing along the Basingstoke Canal in Aldershot, Hampshire, when his life took an extraordinary turn. In the midst of his peaceful pastime, he noticed a bright light slowly approaching him. Initially, he dismissed it as a helicopter, but his dog, Tiny, began barking furiously. To his astonishment, two small humanoid figures emerged from the light. Dressed in green overalls, these enigmatic beings invited Buu aboard their craft. Inside, he found himself in an octagon-shaped chamber that emitted an unpleasant odor. The aliens proceeded to scan Buu and inquired about his age. After a brief assessment, they declared him too old and infirm for our purposes and politely dismissed him. Unfazed by this encounter, Buu calmly continued fishing, albeit with a lingering thought in his mind, a clandestine breeding experiment. The Coronado Group. In March 1994, during the Triad UFO Conference held on Coronado Island in San Diego, multiple attendees reported an extraordinary experience. They claimed to have been taken aboard a colossal extraterrestrial craft, where they witnessed each other in various stages of an apparent abduction process. Some attendees even recounted encountering alien-human hybrid children, hinting at the possibility of long-term interactions between extraterrestrial beings and humanity. What's truly remarkable is the presence of then-President Bill Clinton on the island at the same time. This coincidence has fueled speculation about a potential connection between the United States government and extraterrestrial entities. While the White House has never officially confirmed any involvement, many believe that the attendees of the conference were taken for something equal sign-on sinister. Anonymous Redditor. Imagine being abducted by aliens and having no one believe your story. This is precisely what happened to an anonymous woman from Detroit in October 2015. While standing by the stove, lighting a cigarette with a scratch-off ticket in one hand and waiting for Saturday Night Live to come on, her boyfriend left the house for the night. Just as she was about to take a puff, she found herself waking up in the bathroom in complete darkness. Her boyfriend had returned, but it was already daytime. She had inexplicably lost 7 hours with no recollection of what had transpired. But here's where things get truly bizarre. Upon checking her phone, she discovered several photographs that she claims were taken that she had no idea about. So, what was it? The Droitwich Woman. In 2010, a woman from Droitwich experienced a hair-raising encounter that was fortuitously captured on video by her husband. The footage, which has since gained widespread attention, shows the woman inexplicably vanishing from their bedroom in the middle of the night. According to her account, she felt an overwhelming force pulling her away, resulting in the loss of several hours. When she reappeared, she was in a state of confusion and disorientation, with no recollection of what had occurred during the missing time. Intriguingly, the video footage fails to reveal any visible entity or force that could have caused her disappearance. This has led to speculation that the extraterrestrial beings involved either employed advanced technology or were invisible to the human eye. Additionally, the duvet in the video appears to float upwards, suggesting that the woman didn't merely move but was levitated. Eerily, this wasn't the first time the woman had experienced such an encounter, but it did mark the end of these inexplicable events. MH370. The baffling disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 in 2014 on its way to Beijing is still a major aviation whodunit. Massive searches yielded nothing conclusive about the plane and its passengers. Now, a video throws the whole thing back into the spotlight. It supposedly shows Flight 370 encountering strange glowing objects, or UFOs, zooming over its tail. The plane keeps flying, seemingly oblivious, then vanishes in a flash into the clouds. This has sparked a wild theory. Aliens snatched the plane. But hold on a sec. If aliens did it, who filmed it? And why would they take the plane and everyone on it? The truth behind Flight 370's disappearance remains a complete mystery. The new video just makes it all the more puzzling. Until we get more evidence or a real answer, the fate of the plane and its passengers will continue to be a global head-scratcher. Philip Spencer. On a foggy December night in 1987, former police officer Philip Spencer found himself face-to-face with the extraordinary. While navigating Ilkley Moor with a compass, he encountered a small green creature, an alien, he claimed. What's more, he managed to capture a photograph of this enigmatic being. But after this encounter, Spencer's memory vanished. He woke up confused, his compass acting strangely, and the village clocks confirmed he'd been missing for a significant amount of time. Experts examined the photo, and there was no sign of trickery. Despite intense media attention and even government inquiries, Spencer remained firm in his story of encountering an alien. It's believed that Spencer wasn't the only one to have a close encounter on Ilkley Moor, but he's the only one who returned to tell the tale, making the Ilkley Moor incident one of the United Kingdom's most renowned alien abduction cases. Charles Hixon and Calvin Parker.
I said, Charlie, maybe we don't need to go fishing here. He said, no, that's fine. And that's when I noticed some blue hazy lights reflecting coming across from my back, out across the water.
On a spooky night in October 1973, Charles Hixon and Calvin Parker were fishing on the Pascagoula River in Mississippi when their peaceful evening was interrupted by an otherworldly noise and a strange, oval-shaped craft. 3 bizarre humanoid beings emerged from the craft. They had wrinkled skin, robotic movements, and claw-like hands. Hixon and Parker were taken aboard the craft and subjected to a series of examinations, which seemed to involve thorough inspections of their bodies. Traumatized and confused, they sought help from the local sheriff's department, but they were met with skepticism and ridicule. The officers, dismissive of their story, locked them in an interrogation room, expecting them to confess to making it up. However, Hixon and Parker remained firm in their account, discussing the abduction with genuine fear and conviction. Their consistency left no doubt that they had encountered something extraordinary that night on the Pascagoula River.
Do you ever get any feelings or flashbacks when you come out here?
No, it's changed. It's hard to feel anything when you come out here.
Thank you very much for watching the video. Do like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to not miss any of the upcoming amazing videos. Thank you once again.